for the sake of being heard and for the sake of Ryan and Cat TV being able to transmit this event, we'll use the podium and be a little bit formal. So let me begin by welcoming you and introducing myself. I'm Pownal resident Dave Lowe, and I've been asked to moderate, which I'm happy to do. I like living in a small Vermont town whose citizens choose to involve themselves in projects meant to serve the needs of the community. And I really like living in a town whose citizens care enough about issues to listen carefully and respectfully to one another as those issues are considered. And those are the reasons why I was willing to say yes to the request. I think my job is a pretty simple one. Joyce, you correct me if I'm wrong. I'm to get the meeting rolling and try to keep it on track, which I will do. And I will do so with full awareness that there's a long history of concerned Pownal residents working toward a solution to our town office challenge. To date, none of the proposed solutions has been perfect, and we still may not be there. But we once again have a dedicated group of Pownal citizens who have worked hard to put together a plan they believe will serve the town well. We, the townspeople, the very people who stand to benefit from whatever the ultimate decision we're indebted to the folks of the Pownal Historical Society for their hard work, and we owe them this opportunity to present and clarify their proposal. Tonight's meeting is meant to be an information sharing event to clarify various aspects of the Historical Society's proposal. We will hear an overview of the plan from Joyce Held and Pauline Guntlow, and then we will hear from the several construction professionals regarding details. We welcome George Burge and Michael Grimes from Preferred Building Systems in Claremont, New Hampshire, and Michael Connors of Michael Connors Construction in East Dorset, Vermont, and we thank them very much for making the trip to be with us. At the end of their remarks, there will be an opportunity for questions from the assembled citizens at that point, and before we go into those questions, we will remind you of the protocol for that and the need for being at the mic for Ryan's sake. So without further ado, Joyce.
Well, good evening, and thank you for coming out on a nice, damp, dreary, rainy night to our informational meeting. I'd like to introduce first the Pownal Historical Society board members that are here tonight. We have Wendy Hopkins, we have Deb Baker, we have Ken Held, and we have Pauline Guntlow. I'm just going to give you a quick overview because I know everybody wants to get into the meat of things, but as a historical society, we take protecting our town history seriously. Over a year ago, the board of the Historical Society was discussing how to protect our town's last standing historic one-room schoolhouse, schoolhouse number 8, dating back to the mid-1800s. The school had last been used as a senior citizen center, but it was no longer being used. Pauline, who has been a designer and general contractor for over 30 years, mentioned how the select board had asked for ideas for a new town hall, and wouldn't it be great if the school could be a part of it? Well, that idea is why we are here tonight. Thank you, Pauline, for taking a year out of my life. No. That idea is why we are here tonight with a concept for a new town hall. The plan is to move the one-room schoolhouse that's in great shape and has been cleared by the Catamount Environmental Inspection to the town-owned lot on Center Street. And that section of Center Street, the Pownal Historical Society had designated as a historic district for our town's 250th anniversary in 2010. Construct a full, high R-value insulated basement other than under the vault/town clerk area, at a spacious, high R-value insulated 2,912 square foot modular core office building to the school, making the total square feet 3,848 for easy workflow between offices. Use the school building as a select board/meeting room. Use the basement of the select board/meeting room as a Pownal History Center, not a museum, but a working history center to preserve Pownal's history. Now, a side note. Back in the day, Pownal was a gateway for those coming from Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, heading west, north, and south. And some families stayed here and settled, while others just moved on through. Thus, that's the reason why our town library historical society receives numerous requests each year about our town from those doing research in genealogy. Having a history center with PHS artifacts, family histories, photos, scrapbooks, journals, you name it, close to the town records will make Pownal History Center a destination and will encourage people to come visit Pownal. We feel comfortable that our proposal will come in below the $750,000 ceiling that the Select Board has put on the project. Now, the design the concept, the design we have does not call for a lift. And there is 1,928 square feet of space in the basement that can be used for storage, voting booths, chairs, records that don't require being in the vault, etc. And of course, for future expansion. And we are working right now, we're working on an update for the vault. We've been researching what the state requires, and it changes. It changes constantly, but I think we are almost on top of it. And we will be doing some on-site visits after the November 6th, if needed, and we hope it's needed after November 6th that we go out and visit. Speaking of November 6th, before I turn you over to Pauline, please let me ask each one of you to vote yes on the advisory ballot. A yes means you would like our proposal to be considered along with other proposals being submitted to the town. It is our hope, once basic specifications are provided by the town for all proposals, there'll be town-wide meetings to compare them. Then and only then, I feel that we can make sense of all of it and be able to compare the proposals before deciding on a new town hall. All I ask is that we work together as a town to have this happen. And I know we can do it. As a community, I have said over and over again, I know we can do it. This could be something that as a community, we can pull together and work with the town. And oh, by the way, this is the first time the Select Board and Pownal residents have worked together on a new town office. Think about that. We haven't had a new town office for so many years. So this is a new Select Board. And most of us has never, I don't think we're old enough to have worked on that other town office, other maybe than the addition that was put on in 1970s, but I'm not admitting to that. So it is our time, it is our turn to work together, okay? Because this is not only going to affect our town and our taxes, but it's also going to affect the way people look at us as a town. I hope we go down in history as a town that worked together. And we got it, and we got it right together. We can do this, Pownal. We can do this. Pauline?
The reason that, because we're all taxpayers, that we are focused in on modular construction is because it's a lot less expensive than stick built, and it's really well built. So, as an example, about 10 years ago, I designed an upscale house, and it was in Williamstown. When I was done, I invited my fellow National Home Builders Association members to the house to view it. And as they walked around, they kept saying to me, Pauline, this isn't modular. And I said, well, yeah, it is. Finally, I had to take them down into the basement to show them how the structure was formed together. They're built so well that it fooled professionals in the field. Modular construction is built in an environment that's enclosed. It's a lot more precise than building in the field. And furthermore, today, it's really hard to find folks working in the field that have time to do entire structures. There's just not as many contractors available as there used to be. With the recession, a lot of people left the area, and furthermore, there's not many kids going into the field. So, modular seems like an ideal way to go. Typically, the cost per square foot is considerably less than stick-built. So that is one thing, as taxpayers, we decided to do. The other thing, of course, is saving the old school house. And that was like a marriage made in heaven. Here you have a perfect space for the select board. And possibly, maybe we could even vote there. If we use installation methods that are available today, we can make it energy efficient as well. And so, at this time, I would suggest that our experts are introduced and that they'll explain what they do, and then you can ask them questions.
Only because I want to continue to have a little bit of a role here. We very unfairly didn't give you a time frame, but what I'd like to suggest, if it's workable for George and Michael, to take maybe no more than 12 to 15 minutes, we'll have an informal clock, to talk about the modular construction, and then the same amount of time, Michael, for you to talk about moving the schoolhouse and the foundation work. Does that sound a reasonable amount of time? All right, George and Michael, the mic is yours, and I think it's easiest, Brian, if they come to speak here.
Hi, my name is George Burge. I'm with Preferred Building Systems of Claremont, New Hampshire. I'm a fellow Vermonter. I actually live in Corinth, Vermont, so I am diagonally about 3 hours away, so not that I'm counting. Maybe just try to just give you just a brief history of our company and maybe like a brief virtual tour, since I do those all the time, just to give you an idea of what we do and who we are. So we were started in '07 by the Valley's Building Corporation, so we're a subsidiary. They're an 8-chain retail lumberyard. We also have a truss manufacturing plant in Newport. We have a panelized division also in Newport. We have a trim and pine division, the Prezio pine as well. So we're fairly vertically integrated. We got into the modular business not to be the cheapest guy in town, to be honest with you. We saw a need in the market. There's plenty of what I euphemistically call Pennsylvania modulars. They want to talk about, they're relatively cheap and they're quick. We went at it more from okay, how could we offer a product that our stick builders could incorporate when they were either too busy, they're getting older and they don't want to have a 5 to 10 person crew, regulations, workman's comp, all starting to become bigger and bigger issues. So we're just another arrow in the quiver, so to speak. So our manufacturing plant right now, we have 45 direct employees, those are guys on the floor. Another 10 or 12 indirect, that's the tool room guys, the forklift operators, the material handlers, truck drivers, and another 12 to 15 what we call on the carpet. So that's the designers, engineers, purchasers, the guys that lay out the electrical, plumbing, the whole 9 yards. Being that we're a modular company, we are subjected to third-party oversight. So we use a third-party engineering firm that oversees all the drawings that go through Mike's design shop. they have to get sent off, and he can speak a little bit in depth about this, but anyway, they approve them. They also have a field guide that's in our plant a couple times a month, just basically reviewing every modular that's on the line for compliance. We ship down to places that are slightly more regulated than Pownal, like Boston, Connecticut, along the seacoast. And all these modules are basically built to the same standard. You know, roof loads may vary and there's some local code differences, but by and large you're getting the same quality structure that you'd get if you were in Massachusetts or Connecticut, which are a lot higher, obviously regulated. Basically what we, on the plant itself, we are 168,000 square feet, so a little under 4 acres of manufacturing, and 3,000 or 4,000 of that is office, the remainder is manufacturing. And we start with our production area runs on a horseshoe. We start with the frames. We use an open web joist instead of solid sawn 2x10s, so it's basically a wooden joist. Makes it a lot more convenient to run plumbing and electrical through, especially if you're finishing a ceiling in the basement. We insulate all the box sills up around where the box is set down on the foundation. We're using dense packed cellulose in the walls, which is basically recycled, 85% recycled newspaper content, 15% virgin content, and that's mixed with borate to make it poisonous to chewing insects, and you don't have critters crawling through your walls. But the dense packed cellulose is great for sound attenuation and for R value. Our standard wall is about an R21, but we also foam. We lay the sheetrock down. We foam all of our studs to with a full length of 2-part urethane foam up both sides and top and bottom of every stud bay. So each stud bay is air sealed from the neighboring stud bay. So we have a very well sealed building. Because of that, we also make HRVs, heat recovery ventilators, standard, basically an air exchange to help bring in fresh air, especially in the winter when the building's closed up. And some of that will be worked out depending on what you're going to do for, HVAC, which, there's several different directions there. And then our buildings are shipped in modular units. We shrink wrap them to protect them from basically like a white boat wrap with a heat gun, so everything is protected for the trip. We deliver the modules with our trucks and drivers. The modules are set, the roofs are erected, and the building is weather tight. Typically, if you're using a shingled roof, then we completely shingle the roof. We fasten the building together per the fastening specs. We install the concrete filled ollie columns in the basement, and then we hand the baton off to the local builder for finish. I guess that's in a nutshell. Mike, do you want to add anything? Okay. Mike's the head of our design department.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Grimes. I run the design department for Building Systems in Claremont, New Hampshire. Just to touch on some of the things that George was discussing, one of the advantages of doing a modular construction versus any stick framers here? By the way, like we can talk about them. All right, now the thing with stick framers, they pull their permits, they pour their foundation, they start just building from the ground up. They're building outdoors. They have weather. The rain comes, they pull up. They all go home. Everything gets rain going the whole time. Once the rain stops for 3 days, they come back. They start them again. They got to dry. Lumber's wet. And when it's wet lumber, you start to enclose it. you have good chances of mold issues that start in the future and all that good stuff. So the difference with us and modular, yes, we build everything indoors. But the thing is, once a stick framer gets his permits from the permit office, he starts his building, no one sees what's going on until they get their final CO, their certificate of occupancy. Now, we are held to a very high standard. There was always a bad stigma with modulars 20, 30 years ago. And I've seen a lot of old mods, and I see that, but nowadays, we are held to the highest of standards. Because once we get our buildings approved, like George was saying, we got to go to a third-party system. So we design everything, and with this building in particular, it's a commercial building. So we're under the strict IBC, which is the International Building Code. And once we do that, then we got to go to an actual professional engineer, and the whole building is spec, couch, wind structure, all code compliant. And then once we get actual seals, but then we still have to go to our third party. Then when we go to our third party, they give us our approval and allow us to actually put them on mods, put them on a trailer, and deliver them down the road. Without that, we can't even deliver. And they inspect us for full code compliance. So there are no corners we can ever cut. And that's the best part about us. We're built indoors, we're always dry, perfectly sealed. We follow all energy codes, all our building codes, and we are heavily watched. So the building is a very tight, energy efficient, well-built building. So that would should really ease the mind. But if there was any stigmas or any negative thoughts concerning old mods or old modular building, hopefully that'll clear a lot of that up, and I'd love to answer any questions about it. So should I wait?
I think we'll wait till the end for questions and answers, but might you say a word about the construction timeline?
Yes, when we actually start our buildings on the floor in the plant, like George was saying, we have a horseshoe building. It takes about 18 days when we're just running normal. So from the start, from the time we start our deck framing, we build all our sub-assemblies and everything's ready to go. So at each stage, we're building, we're putting our walls in, our walls are going on the table, our interior walls, all our sheetrocking. We're also, we get our insulation put in-house. We use our insulweb and everything, and then we cover with sheathing on the outside. So all of that insulation is protected, dry, no weather. So then when you get your building, there is no mold issues in your walls whatsoever. So, but it takes about 18 days to run through the plant. So with this building 4 boxes, start to finish will be about 22 days once you start building. Now once you deliver, it's a little bit different, you get down on site. This building in particular, we won't be raising a roof. Well, actually, we'll be delivering roof components. So we'll pre-build the roof indoors. Most of it will be sheathed, a lot of it will be shingled, or whatever roof we're putting on it. And then those will actually, so once we set our mods, we'll actually pick and set the roof components on it as well. A whole full roof. So then, then we're refacing everything, not just to the minimum as required by the IBC. I always get a little extra. Bare minimum is bare minimum. So you want to be bare minimum, plus a little bit so you're a little bit better, solid, better constructed. So we do that across the board as well. Good. So, but that's about all I have. And like I said, I'll hang out and talk to each one of you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Thank you, everybody.
And Michael Connors will talk about the moving the schoolhouse and the foundation, right, Mike?
Hello, I'm Michael Connors from East Dorset, just north of here. We just put a steel grid underneath the building that's there. It's in good shape. I met with Pauline there, we looked at it. You jack it up, put our wheels on it. Then we need to work with the utility companies, which Pauline has met with them out there, and they felt the same way. We have to move some wires because of the height to get it up through there. And I'd like to move the building into the foundation area first. We move it in, get it situated the way everybody wants it, and then jack it up higher than our walls will be to plumb down, and then pour the entire foundation, meaning the modular and the foundation under the building that we're moving, and then let that building down, coordinate that with the modular people so they can then come in a reasonable amount of time and fasten them together. However, that's going to be done exactly. I'm not sure about how they make the two come together, but I don't know. I guess I brought some pictures if you want to see them on moving of the building. I don't know how many people have seen it. I mean, I just don't know, but it's, we certainly can move it. It's a sound building and we move many historic buildings. So.
Can you talk about the foundation?
Sure. What Pauline has chosen is it's a foundation that it's insulated in the middle. So we've got we're pouring you do it at the same time, but you've got 4 inches of cement on the inside, 4 inches of styrofoam in the middle, and 4 inches on the outside. And it's called a thermal mass foundation. And we still pour it right in our regular cement forms, but you have the fiberglass rods that hook the two together to keep the things, and it's a really good system. And I believe it's R20, isn't it, when you do that? So that gives them the insulation factor that they're looking for with the foundation. And then your insulation is in the middle of 2 cement walls. That's the route that they're talking about going with this. You do the footings, you do your walls, and then that's the process here. And so that's that. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer for you if I can.
Thank you, Michael. So for the sake of protocol and for the sake of Ryan and Cat TV, I think we need to have the formality of anyone wanting to ask a question of any of these gentlemen or the Pownal Historical Society needs to come to the mic and identify him or herself, including their residency, the town of residency, and then let's go where we can with these questions. Yes, Ryan.
And then, does it make sense if anyone would prefer, like if anyone has trouble getting, or would prefer not to walk up to the mic, would it make sense to have them raise their hand and have someone bring it over?
We can do that as well. Jim, don't raise your hand quite yet. You're too eager. So that will work, right? And we can, I don't know if, would it be all right, Ryan, for us to pass this mic along here as questions come to the appropriate person?
Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Kosas, could you come to the mic?
There's a game on tonight.
Oh, there's a game.
My name is Jim Kosas. I live on Mason Hill Road North in Pownal. First of all, I'd like to just tell Pauline and the Historical Society that from the start when I met you down at the library, I was very impressed with the project. There were very many questions that I had concerning the cost and concerning how the design was going to be put together. So for one, I did notice that you do have a little spot on the sign over there that does say that you will contribute the doing the historical, how do you word it, historical?
History Center.
History Center. Right. So before I ask my question, first of all, I want to let you announce that.
Oh, okay, all right. With her original proposal, we didn't think we were that far off. We suggested that the basement of the select board meeting room could be used as a history center, Pownal History Center. Jim was very gracious to point out to us that he didn't feel that the town should be paying $25,000 for a museum. Of course, we corrected him on that. It's a history center. There'll be no dusting artifacts, well, you know, whatever. But anyway, so we discussed it as a board because, again, we want to work with, as residents, we want to work hand in hand with each other as far as we can, and with the select board. So we decided that as a gift to the town, we, the Historical Society, would take care of finishing off the town's history center. It is not Pownal Historical Society. It is a Pownal History Center. Now, granted, The town will obviously get the service of the Historical Society to do different things in there. And now that you gave me an opening, I'm going to use it. One of the things I was explaining to someone earlier, decades ago, LDS, Latter-day Saints, came through the towns and they microfished all of the town records. Now, we are very blessed as a town. We have town records from day one, and most of them are very legible. So we didn't lose them in a fire, we didn't lose them in a flood. So that was great. They captured that. But then they left, and then since moving forward, nothing has been captured. Now, we still have them, but nothing has been captured. It is our dream that once we have the History Center, that the volunteers in the History Center will be able to take these records and digitize them to save them for the future. Because what's happening today is history for tomorrow. And so we all pray that the Historical Society of tomorrow will be as dedicated as we are, if not more. So that is that's one of our projects. We're not going to sit down there and knit. We are going to be an active history center working on preserving our town records, our town history for future generations. And so that's why we say that the History Center and the schoolhouse is taking the past and the present, which is the modular core, for the future of Pownal. So now I did my commercial, and now I'm going to let you grill Pauline, because you just got me. No, go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you very much for doing what
You're
you're doing
welcome,
there.
and thank you for your questions. I mean, he has sent me some tough emails, and what's the nice part about it? I didn't know Jim that well, but I think we've become friends through email and just being honest with one another. So that's something to be learned. Okay, go ahead.
No problem. First of all, because of that little remark that they're going to donate that, I, for one, want you to know I will be voting for this to happen and have you part of the other ones. I have looked at this design, I've compared it to other ones that I have seen, and this is the one that fits Pownal, I think, the best. Number one, the style of the house, or the style of the building, the added of the old school house will fit in place. Unfortunately, the land may not be suitable, or they're going to do the best they can for it, whether it was just a flat land or something like that. It's not your problem, but I'm sure you're going to do the best you can to have it put in there. The two questions I have, one being that I don't know the laws of elevators, so I'm going to leave it to someone. I know the selectmen have increased your value that you have given to them by $100,000, part of that being because they feel that an elevator will be needed. So I'm looking for a total cost now, not to be something that you put together now, and then when you want to expand, you got to add something else later on. If an elevator is needed, an elevator should be included now. So I'll let you discuss that between now and when it goes to the board. The second question I have basically is, and both of the contractors have touched base on it. The first one touched base as when they bring the house building down, it will be erected, it will have the roof put on, it'll put there, and at this point he said it will be passed on to the local contractor to finish. The second gentleman spoke about how once he moves the building down, they'll move it in, and how they get attached together, quote, he's not sure how that's going to happen. So my one concern is that, is there going to be one big general contractor that will be overseeing the whole project with blueprints to make sure that when this project is done, it'll be complete and totally structured and put together so that there is documentation. Other than that, I just want to thank you very much for bringing this idea to the people, and I truly hope that it goes through.
Thank you. Thank you. George can answer that about
Marrying the buildings together isn't really such a big issue at all. There's a couple of ways that it can be done. We just haven't made the final decision between the two methods, and but that's very minor. And as far as overseeing the building, whoever is going to be in charge, we could hire a clerk of the works, and that's all that's really necessary. And we've actually talked about someone local in town doing that, not me, but somebody else. And so, yeah, that very minor.
Yes, ma'am. You have to go to the mic, sorry.
I just wanted to know how's it going to be handicapped accessible? And what's going to happen to the property once the schoolhouse is removed?
And could you, just for the sake of the meeting, remind us who you are and that you're a resident of Pownal?
North Pownal, and it's Andrea Tobin.
Thank you. Who's ready to answer?
First of all, once the building is moved, the foundation existing will be filled in, and so that it'll just look like plain old bare land again. Which brings up the point of the land now. It actually it's the way it's sloped, it's ideal for the walkout basement we envision. As far as the elevator goes, we don't really need a lift. We have two separate sections. Everything is contained on the first level. It will be totally handicap accessible. All we need is a slight incline. There's no steps for a pad going to the main entrance and to the select board's room. The same holds true downstairs for the entrance to the history room. No stairs. So we should be just fine, never mind our wonderful handicap bathrooms.
Can I ask one more question? Since you hit the mic.
Okay.
Can you just clarify, just so that everyone understands, where the building is being moved from? The building is owned by such and such, and the land is owned by such and such, and the land will be put together.
Okay. The building is what was used as a senior center. And I think everybody kind of knows where it is. It's on Pownal, what's that, North Pownal Road, I believe.
Yeah.
And so it just has to move around the corner and down to the site. And the site is to the right of the church down there on Center Street. And so there is a kind of a little road that runs down there. And from the little road, there's an old foundation. And I don't know whether it was a barn or what. There's some stone in there that maybe we can salvage. But anyway, it's a sloped area. It's perfect. It's perfect for a walkout foundation. And so, does that answer your question?
I guess where the building is standing now, who owns that property?
Oh, I'm sorry. Fran Lapman owns that property.
And who owns the building?
Yeah, and the school is responsible, Pownal's school board is responsible for the building, and they came to us and offered it to us. And we said, what are we gonna do with it? And then that was part of how the plan all evolved.
So we have to refinish the grant, and that's included in the cost?
Finishing the land?
Yes.
Yeah.
To answer your question, the building is a commercial building, so the whole building is ADA accessible. So,
And I'm gonna put the grass seed in.
Joyce is doing the grass seed.
I'm gonna do the grass seed, because Fran will want to have grass, if I will do the grass seed. We got that on tape. I'll be out there.
I'm pretty certain that if no one else has questions, Jim Kosas will come up with some more. Does anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I do. Stan Kimball, Crossroad.
Can you come to the mic, Stan? Thank you.
On the modular, is there any kind of warranties? Is there a time frame? Like if I know you're saying you're going with top quality, but I've heard a couple instances in Pownal where IKEA has had trouble with shingles. Now, is there any kind of warranty on the building materials being used?
Preferred building systems, we include basically like a 1-year wraparound, bumper to bumper. So that's cracks in the sheetrock, defects in material workmanship, shingles blowing off. You get a warranty packet as well, so everything is warranted, through the manufacturers. We're using craft-made cabinets in the kitchenette or for bath vanities. We're using Moen faucets. So they're all name brand. They're not.
They're all good.
Yeah, they're Simpson fasteners. We're not using like modular specific products, which sometimes are decontented. These are all things you could buy at a top quality building supply store.
Thank you. And the other question was I had was
Stan,
about
could you come a little closer to that
the
mic?
land that Jim brought up, finishing the land after the school was moved. Was that included in the price?
That was included with excavating.
Okay, thank you.
Would you speak to the windows, the genuine windows?
Yeah, so right now what we have spec'd in is a Geldwin vinyl thermopane window. So it's double hung, 2 layers of gas with an argon center, gas-filled center. Complete vinyl extrusion. There's no wood inside that can rot. The grids are buried between the glass for easy cleaning, and we take a lifetime warranty out on each window, so that if you had any breakage or fogging issues, that would be covered as a free replacement. The sashes all snap out, so somebody would have to physically unsnap the sash and put it back in, but the window sash would be free.
Just an aside, last winter, just for the heck of it, I used a Gen Weld window, and then I purchased on the same side for the apartment house, triple pane Marvins. I wanted to see what the difference was. Honest to God, I cannot tell the difference. The Gen Weld it was just, I could put my hand on the window and it was just as warm as a triple pane. And this is unsolicited from me.
And that's a breakage warranty too, so if somebody, one of the kids is throwing a baseball and it goes through the window, it's covered.
Another point that may answer your question a little bit as well is one of the other aspects of old-time modular. It was they had far less requirements they had to meet, and also not to be confused with a manufactured home. By code, a manufactured home still has the wheels on it. It's a trailer. Then you also have a HUD code modular house, which has very thin walls, 1/8" energy board on the interiors, and a sheetrock. What we build is an absolute stick-framed house indoors. We are using all nominal 2x12 rims, 2x10. We're using joist 2x10s. We're using open webs that are 93/8, which carry great floor loads. Commercial building, I'm meeting all the 100 pound per square foot floor loads in the common areas, 50 pounds per square foot in all the offices. But it is actually built no different than a stick framed home with the quality and fastening in a lumber. So there's no inadequate materials going into it in a lesser quality modular home or a manufactured home. Yes, sir.
Either one of you, but you have to come back to the mic so that we can pick up the question.
I just wanted to know how, if it's going to be heated, if there's going to be a furnace room, and how is it going to heat the historical part of it?
There's a mechanical room in the basement, and at this point, we're speccing it out for a standard system. We're also looking into heat pumps, which would be really wonderful if we could do that. The select board have not really given us any specs. We're also waiting from some information from Vermont Efficiency. There might be incentives to go with the heat pump, and in which case a heat pump system costs more than a standard system. But if there's enough inducement, that maybe we could make it work. So at this point, that's unclear which way we would go. But we would just run another line to the History Center downstairs, where the mechanical room is. The thing is, this building is going to be so well insulated, it's not going to, it should be very easy to heat and cool, actually.
Yeah, which is a big benefit of a heat pump. You get air conditioning as part of the equation, which is nice in the summer.
Yeah, real quick, as far as dealing with the energy efficiency, the HERS rating requirement, so we are far superior to what the HERS rating requirement is for the state. So, I mean, we hit a 57 HERS rating on when we go out the door on any house. And when we put extra effort into the higher energy packages, we do even better. So we are far better than what the 2015 IECC requires for your building. So we're really tight.
Okay, one last question that I'll have is that I'm not a builder. I did build my own house. I have questions that I just want to make sure. Do you have options for the type of siding that will go on side? I've heard that there is siding that is, this building I want to make sure lasts 50, 75 years. When the people down the road, they don't have to replace a building like we have had here. So I'm just wondering if you're not just doing what the limit needs to be, or are we talking about how long the building's going to last? Whether it could be siding that's on there that's going to last, like the cement. Have you heard about the cement one? I've seen it. It looks very nice. Whether it's worth investing a little bit more if we're going to do this building to have something like that, or are we set in the way that you've got it designed? I only bring up a lot of these questions because a lot of people in Pownal really don't know what's going on. They show up at the polls and they're just told this is what it's going to cost. Yes, no. I'm hoping that more and more people will watch this show. Unfortunately, not that many people came out in the rain or first night of the World Series to come down and see what's happening, but this is finally a big step for Pownal. Yes, we had one before, but I think it was just, in my opinion, overblown. This more, I think, is more of what Pownal needs. Thank you.
Because of the configuration of the building, it's probably going to come without siding, so at that point, we can ship loose the siding and we can ship whatever you choose for on-site installation, whether it be vinyl, cement board, wood, So that's more of, I think, a town and a budgetary consideration.
I've used a cemented siding. It's not everything, it's kind of controversial, actually. It's not everything that people think it's cracked up to be. The jury's still out. And I don't know, then there's the option of vinyl, and people seem to not want that. However, I think it depends on what it looks like. And then there's the option of wood. It actually, that could be an interesting meeting. So actually right now, we have, there's really not a firm decision on the type of siding. That is something we've been thinking about.
I guess I just want to add, I just want to make sure that this building is built to last without,
Yes.
without future maintenance. If it is siding, does it have to be replaced down the road?
Right.
If it is wood, will the wood last for 50 to 75 years?
Yeah.
Or the cement board, will that last and maintain? I'm giving you the, I'd love to give you the money to build this building. I just don't want to be piecemeal down the next couple of years and have to add more money to maintain it.
You're right. My feeling is vinyl is vinyl. If you find a design that is really good, that might be the way to go. Cement siding, they're having some issues with. But maybe, you know, each year things get better, so we're still investigating. Why don't you say something more about moving the buildings and so forth, and how many you've done?
Yeah, we do a lot of moving or jacking, replacement of foundations. We do 40 a year in southern Vermont. So I do a lot of buildings. Not all moving because of the wires. In this application, Green Mountain Power was very willing to work with you. For me, for regular people to go out and move the building, the wires are so expensive that it ruins a job on most jobs. But being in town, Pauline met with the Green Mountain Power people, and they were very good to work with. Otherwise, the job couldn't fly because it wouldn't be, you couldn't justify the cost of doing it because we're so high. We're going to add about 6 feet to the height of the foundation with our rigging, between our wheels and our steel. So it's high, and the wires are, the rules now are for anything, 14.6 is the highest that they're supposed to be, and we're way over that. So they're going to swing them over onto some poles and raise them up for us and unhitch them and let us go in through. And the way the wires are, we feel we can do it. So that's good. We move a lot of buildings. It's a good frame building, and then you can have the options of renovating it, parts of it or all of it, as you go along. Inside of it has the money. The town has the money for it, but you'll have a good structure in there. It's part of the community. So that's why we do it. So anything else I say? Okay. I mean,
You're coming in front of the George, sorry. I'm sensing that we have one more, at least one more question.
I have a couple of questions. My name is Bruce Wheat. I live on Pratt Road. I really appreciate all the work you've done on this, and I'm looking at you, Pauline, because the question for you, I believe, because you seem to be the one who has the most secure handle on the whole project at this point. How, and pardon me if I'm ignorant of the process at this point, but how is this square footage arrived at? That's one question. And given the site and your present design on that site, how complicated would any sort of future addition be? Is there room, or is the site amenable to future expansion if that became necessary?
I think there's plenty of room there. However, if in fact we made the whole back side of it walkout, we could throw some windows in, and in that case, if someone wanted, you could take a room, one of the offices, and put an elevator in at that point. But at this, I mean, I would think that would be like 50 years away. I don't think that. I think we have more than adequate space right now for the personnel that work there. How did I come up with the design? I just made a list of everybody that needed an office and tried to lay it out according to what would seem sufficient for each. Like for instance, the listers, that if they had 3 people working there, they would need 3 desks and so forth. And that was pretty much how it was worked out. 1 bathroom up on the main floor didn't seem sufficient, so we put 2. And thanks to Jim, we deleted the kitchen. And we only have, because we didn't need a whole kitchen. When I first designed it, I was thinking, well, maybe it's for the ladies who want to come and provide lunch, you know, like on voting day or whatever. And then I was told that that really wasn't necessary. So we switched it out and just put in a microwave and a little small fridge. Those kinds of things, but and those are kind of how I came up with the design.
Just to follow up, did the selectmen give you guidance on that at all?
Nobody really gave us guidance. I've asked about, you know, I've gone over and viewed the records room to see how much space they need and so forth, and come up with an idea. Actually, it may be, I was talking with Michael here, who's created records rooms out of concrete or vaults. And it's possible that maybe we could add at this time additional 5 feet, so that 16 feet by 16 as it is now, it might make more sense to make it 16 by 20, and that should be more than sufficient. I don't think the cost is going to be it might equal out. We're not sure. We just heard this idea tonight, so I have to cost it out.
Joyce, do you have a few comments at the end?
I'll talk fast. I know they're warming up those arms in that baseball team. Everybody's ready to go. I'm not even going to start asking who's rooting for whom, because we've all got along so well tonight. Just wanted to ask again for your yes vote on November 6th to keep us in the mix. And again, I want to say it again, that this is the first time that this select board has, and us as a town, have worked together to do a new town hall. And so, hopefully there's going to be, open communication. We've been working at it, they've been working at it. Mistakes will be made, we'll work together to correct them. We'll see it through, and given the yes vote on November 6th, we'll see it through. Otherwise, November 6th, we're through. But anyway, hopefully we can be deciding on a new town office come spring next year. And according to Michael here, if it gets voted on in March, we all could be cutting the ribbon by, good golly, May 1st, right? Did you say like 18 days or 20 days? Yeah, wait a minute now. Yeah. 3 months, we'll say 3 months. We'll give you 3 months. We'll give you 3 months. So that's April, May, June. June, is that better? June? Okay, all right, okay. We'll get you home for Father's Day, June 15th. Okay, so please get out and vote yes for us. Thank you again for coming out, and thank you for showing not only us, but those who are watching, how productive a group of people sitting down and talking about a common interest, a common goal can work so well together. I'm just so impressed. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And we'll see you at the ballot, on the voting day, and we'll see you at the polls, and we'll be the ones probably freezing out there at 7 a.m. So thanks.